13 Stoic meditations for a calm night and a powerful morning. The night hides a battle that few ever face consciously. Not the noise outside, but the noise within. You lie down and the body is still, yet the mind keeps speaking. Regrets, expectations, the endless weight of what cannot be changed. The Stoics understood this war centuries ago. They knew that silence was not the absence of thought, but the mastery of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Tonight you decide that color. You can let it stain with fear or let it clear into calm. This is not about escaping the world. It is about facing it with clarity so sharp that the storm loses its shape. You are not powerless against the current of your emotions. You are their source, their sculptor, their emperor. Each of the 13 Stoic meditations that follow is not a lesson. It is a weapon forged in discipline, sharpened in solitude, and used to conquer the mind before the morning conquers you. When practiced tonight, they become a ritual of release, of control, of awakening. As you breathe, allow the world to fall silent. Imagine the weight of the day dissolving. Every thought that once shouted now whispers. Every fear that once chased you now kneels before your awareness. This is where the Stoic path begins, not in temples, not in books, but in the quiet acceptance that you can rule yourself. Because the man who rules his mind rules his world. The emperor within does not need a crown, only awareness. Let this be the night you reclaim your throne. Before peace can enter, the noise of the day must leave. The Stoics believed that every night was a form of death, not the end of life, but the end of attachment. What burdens you carried today no longer belong to you. The mistakes, the words, the unfinished battles, they dissolve the moment you understand this simple truth. What is done cannot be undone, but it can be understood. Marcus Aurelius would write his meditations before sleep, not to remember the day, but to release it. To look at his own thoughts as a commander studies the battlefield after victory or defeat, without pride, without despair, only with observation. Do the same now. Close the distance between you and your mind. Watch your day unfold, not as a story of success or failure, but as a collection of events that taught you something. The weight you feel is not from the world, but from your grip on it. Every attachment adds to the load. Every expectation tightens the chain. But as you observe, the grip loosens. You realize that your control ends where your understanding begins. This is the essence of Stoic freedom, to act with reason, then release what lies beyond it. Let your thoughts fall like leaves in autumn. Let the mind empty itself without resistance. In this stillness, you are not the sum of your actions. You are the awareness that watches them fade. Tonight, let go. Tomorrow, begin again. Power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers in restraint. The Stoics knew that true strength was measured not by how loud you could command the world, but by how silent you could remain when the world provoked you. The weak respond to every noise around them. The strong choose which voices to answer and which to let fade into insignificance. Restraint is not weakness, it is the control of reaction, the art of governing impulse. When you feel anger rise or anxiety tighten your chest, pause. That pause is your power. Marcus Aurelius said that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. The best proof of mastery is calmness in provocation. Every word unspoken, every action delayed until reason returns, is an act of quiet dominance over chaos. Imagine standing in the center of a storm. Winds tearing around you, voices shouting, expectations pressing, yet your face remains calm. That image is not fantasy. It is what the Stoics trained for daily. The ability to hold the same stillness in turmoil that others only find in silence. The world cannot shake a mind that has chosen not to be moved. Tonight, remember, calmness is not the absence of emotion, but the command over it. When you master stillness, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, the noise of the world becomes irrelevant. Every night is a rehearsal for the final rest. To the Stoics, death was not an end to fear, but a truth to awaken clarity. Remembering mortality strips away illusion. It makes life urgent, pure, and simple. When you understand that your time is borrowed, you begin to live deliberately. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." The thought of death, far from dark, was his compass toward light. It removes distraction, pride, and complaint. Suddenly, the petty arguments, the restless desires, the endless comparisons, none of them matter, because all of them belong to the temporary, while you belong to the eternal moment that is now. Look into the mirror of mortality, not to despair, but to awaken gratitude. The fact that you are breathing, that your heart still beats, means you have another chance to act with virtue, to think with reason, to live as if today were your last gift from fate. To meditate on death is not to call it closer, but to honor life more deeply. It teaches you that the day wasted in worry is a day stolen from serenity. The night you spend in awareness is a night redeemed. Every human carries a quiet flame, the will to rise, to act, to persist. Yet most spend their lives fearing the heat of their own strength. The Stoics taught that adversity does not extinguish this fire, it fuels it. The harder the wind blows, the brighter the flame burns. What you call struggle is often your own becoming. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle becomes the way. To the untrained mind, that is a paradox. But to the disciplined one, it is truth. When pain arrives, it is not an intruder, it is a messenger. It tells you where you have room to grow, where you still depend on comfort, where you have yet to master yourself. You can either curse the weight that life places upon your shoulders or let it carve strength into your posture. Tonight, look at your pain differently. Do not ask why it came. Ask what it is trying to teach. Every discomfort, every delay, every rejection holds a lesson wrapped in resistance. The Stoics faced storms, wars, and loss, yet they saw all of it as raw material for character. The fire within you does not need peace to burn, it needs purpose. When you suffer consciously, you transmute pain into power. When you endure with awareness, you no longer break, you are forged. A full cup cannot receive more water. A full mind cannot receive more wisdom. The Stoics knew that arrogance, pride, and the illusion of knowledge are the greatest barriers to growth. The wise man remains an empty vessel, not because he lacks understanding, but because he is always ready to learn anew. Seneca wrote that no man can grow wise if he believes he already knows. Each day demands humility, the courage to say, "I may be wrong." This humility does not weaken, it refines. The fool fills his mind with certainty and drowns in it. The sage empties his mind and breathes in truth. Let go of the need to be right. Release the obsession to prove, to compare, to dominate conversations. Those who seek validation are prisoners of perception. Those who seek clarity are free. The Stoic mind approaches every experience as a student, curious, silent, observant. When you wake tomorrow, approach the world as if you were seeing it for the first time. Listen more than you speak. Observe more than you assume. Life pours its lessons only into the minds that have space to hold them. To be empty is not to lack, it is to be open. And in that openness, wisdom flows endlessly. Imagine rising above your own life, seeing yourself not as you feel, but as you are. A small being moving through the vast order of the cosmos. The Stoics practiced this vision daily. They called it the view from above. From that height, anger dissolves, pride shrinks, and fear loses shape. What once felt unbearable becomes insignificant against the immensity of existence. Marcus Aurelius often pictured himself looking down from the stars, seeing cities, armies, and ambitions fade into the dust of time. He understood that perspective is the antidote to despair. When you see the whole, you stop clinging to the fragment. When you see eternity, you stop fearing the moment. Climb in your mind tonight. Look down on your worries as if they belong to another life. The deadlines, the judgments, the fleeting noise of others, they are grains of sand in an infinite desert. And yet, here you are, aware, conscious, capable of reason. That awareness is divine. That is what the Stoics called the spark of the Logos, the rational order that lives within you. You are both the observer and the observed. The higher you rise in awareness, the calmer you become, because from above, everything is small, except wisdom. When the sea turns violent, the sailor does not curse the waves, he drops his anchor. The Stoic does the same within his mind. Chaos is not something to avoid, it is something to endure without being consumed. You cannot control the storm, but you can choose the steadiness of your response. Epictetus taught that disturbance comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. The world shakes, and we panic, not because the world is unbearable, but because we forgot our anchor. The anchor is reason. The anchor is awareness. When emotions pull you into reaction, when fear rises like a tide, pause and return to the center that cannot be moved. Life will test you in 1,000 ways. People will betray, circumstances will shift, and plans will fail. Yet each test is an invitation, a chance to practice composure, to prove that you are greater than your conditions. The Stoic does not wait for calm seas to be at peace. He brings peace into the storm. Breathe. The noise will pass. The waves will break. And when they do, you will remain, steady as the anchor you have chosen to be. No sacred place is greater than the one within you. The Stoics believed the mind was a temple, a sanctuary where reason must preside, guarded against intrusion. Yet most people leave the gates open, allowing noise, anger, and distraction to wander freely inside. What you think about becomes what you serve. If your temple is filled with fear, you worship anxiety. If it is filled with wisdom, you serve peace. Marcus Aurelius warned that the soul is dyed by the color of its thoughts. To protect it is an act of devotion, not to gods, but to truth itself. Each time you let gossip, outrage, or envy enter your mind, you defile your own sanctuary. The Stoic closes the door gently and sits in silence, cleaning the altar of thought with reflection. Tonight, guard your temple. Let no thought enter without purpose. Ask of each one, does this strengthen my character or weaken it? Does it bring me clarity or confusion? The discipline of mind is the highest form of prayer, the worship of order over chaos. You are the keeper of your temple. The serenity within depends on what you allow to stay. Control is not about domination, it is about harmony. The Stoics discovered that the universe moves in rhythm, rise and fall, gain and loss, joy and pain. To fight this rhythm is to live in tension. To move with it is to find peace. Each breath you take is a lesson in Stoic control. You inhale what the world gives, you exhale what you cannot keep. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you learn to separate what depends on you from what does not. This simple truth builds the foundation of inner power. You cannot command the wind, but you can set your sails. You cannot force peace upon the world, but you can create it within yourself. When you wake tomorrow and the world demands your reaction, pause and remember, you decide the rhythm. You choose when to respond and when to remain still. Every act of patience strengthens your control. Every act of awareness tunes you closer to the order of nature. To live well is to dance with what happens, not to resist it, not to surrender to it, but to move in step with reason. The Stoic controls nothing beyond his mind, yet through that mastery, he controls everything that matters. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the highest expression of strength. The Stoics saw acceptance not as passive, but as active alignment with reality. To let things be is not to give up, but to cease wasting energy on what cannot be changed. Every time you resist what is, you fight the universe itself, and that battle, no matter how fierce, cannot be won. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Love only what happens to you and is spun with the thread of your destiny." That love is not blind submission, but trust in reason, trust in the unfolding of things as they must be. When you stop demanding that life obey your will, you begin to see that it has always been guiding you toward wisdom. The obstacle, the delay, the loss, they are not enemies. They are teachers in disguise. Letting be means allowing reality to exist without distortion. You stop trying to repaint the past or predict the future, and instead, you stand in the calm truth of the present moment. There the mind relaxes. There the heart learns peace. The art of letting be is the art of freedom. When you stop resisting, the world stops fighting you. The Stoics viewed the morning not as a beginning, but as a test. Each sunrise asked the same question: will you rule yourself today, or will you be ruled by impulse? The discipline of dawn begins long before the world awakens. It begins in the quiet decision to rise with purpose, to meet the day as a warrior of reason, not a slave of emotion. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when you wake unwillingly, remember your purpose as a human being, to work with others, to think, to act in accordance with nature. The bed is soft, but so is the mind that yields to comfort. The Stoic rises not to chase success, but to fulfill duty, to meet the day's challenges as chances to practice virtue. Each morning offers a blank tablet. You can fill it with distraction or discipline, with excuses or with effort. The choice defines the shape of your mind. Do not wait for motivation. It is fickle. Build ritual. Let the first action of your day be governed by intention, not impulse. Discipline at dawn sets the tone of your inner empire. Conquer the first hour, and the rest of the day obeys. Nothing that happens to you is truly good or bad until you decide it is. That decision, that interpretation, is the shield or the wound. The Stoics understood that perspective is the armor of the wise. When insulted, they asked, "Does this touch my character?" When injured, "Does this touch my reason?" If the answer was no, the event lost its power. Epictetus reminded his students that no one can harm you unless you allow it. Events are external, suffering is internal. The same fire that burns others can forge you. The difference lies in perception. To see through emotion is blindness. To see through reason is vision. When you step back from your pain, you do not deny it, you redefine it. The broken plan becomes preparation. The rejection becomes redirection. Life stops attacking you and starts shaping you. Perspective turns chaos into clarity. Tonight, reflect on this. Every insult, every hardship, every twist of fate is an invitation to strengthen your armor. What touches the body may wound it. What touches the mind only if you allow. The Stoic walks through storms untouched, not because the wind spares him, but because his vision never bends. The greatest empire you will ever rule is yourself. The Stoics believed that governance of the mind was nobler than any throne, for kingdoms may fall, but mastery endures. Within you lies a vast dominion, thoughts as citizens, emotions as storms, will as law. If you do not lead this empire, chaos will. Marcus Aurelius bore the weight of the Roman world, yet his truest conquests were invisible. He conquered anger, fear, and pride, one thought at a time. That is the Stoic path, to govern not nations, but the self, to transform reason into rule. Every disciplined choice fortifies your empire. Every patient breath strengthens its walls. Every act of virtue expands its borders. When dawn rises, remember that no external power defines you. The opinions of others, the wealth of the world, even the passage of time, all of it lies outside your command. What remains eternally yours is judgment, intention, and response. Protect them as your crown. Polish them through practice. Rule your mind with justice. Command your actions with wisdom. Guard your peace as an emperor guards his throne. For the one who commands himself commands life itself. As the final words fade into silence, the night releases its hold. What began as reflection now becomes renewal. You have walked through the weight of the day, faced your mortality, tamed chaos, and reclaimed your throne within. This is the essence of Stoicism, not detachment from life, but engagement with it through discipline and clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for glory, but for guidance. Each line was a reminder that peace is not granted by circumstance, but created by awareness. Tonight, you have done the same. You have chosen to turn inward, to govern rather than be governed, to calm the storm instead of fearing it. When you wake, let your first thought be this: I am in control of my mind, not the world, not fate, not fear. The calm you feel tonight is not temporary. It is a skill, a muscle of reason that strengthens each time you practice it. Carry this quiet power into the morning. Let serenity guide your speech, purpose command your actions, and reason light your path. For the one who has mastered himself at night awakens unconquered by the dawn. If this reflection brought you calm, let it become your nightly ritual. Subscribe, listen again tomorrow, and continue your path toward mastery. The Stoic Way.